So here I am basically finishing off Act 10 Kitava, and I am now on the brink of actually starting to enter maps. So right now there's a lot of things that I have to keep track of before I can really start mapping without having a lot of issues. So first of all, when you kill Act 10 Kitava, he's going to lower your resistances by 30% more. So as you can see here right now, my resist went from 64 down to 34. And it says you've been permanently weakened by Kitava's Merciless Affliction. You now have a total of minus 60% to all resistances. And that is due to the fact that Act 5 Kitava also lowers your resistances by 30%. So it is really important right now that I actually get a lot of things in order before I can properly start mapping. And that is exactly what we'll be going over in this video. First of all, when you get back to town, you want to talk to Lana and you want to get your Book of Skill to give you 2 more skill points. Then it is really important that you actually check if you finished all the quests for all the skill points in the game. You can do that by doing /passives and then you get a list of all the skill points in the game. If it says 24 on the top, means that you have taken all the skill points available. If it says 22, it could be that you did another one in the deal with the bandits. So the bandits give you 4 different choices of who you want to get rewarded from with the bandits, and if you kill all the bandits you get +2 skill points, which is basically what I did, which is why I have 24. So if you have 0 skill points with the bandits, that is not an issue and you don't have to be alarmed. That means you probably took one of the other bandits. One really important thing to do before you want to start mapping, and as soon as you kill Kitava as well, is to actually check on your defenses. So your defenses is basically the way that you mitigate or handle damage coming to your character in Path of Exile. There are a couple of different defenses that you can utilize in Path of Exile. For example, you have your 3 main ones: armor, evasion, and energy shield. My character will be an evasion based character actually. And then you have other things such as suppress spell damage, and you also have block, and then you have some other like more niche things like mind over matter and other things that we're not really going to go into right now. But for example, this will be a suppress spell damage and evasion rating based character, so I will focus on that in my skill tree. There are other things, like I said, like you have block while holding a shield, block while dual wielding, and stuff like that, and you have a bunch of different defenses that you can focus on in Path of Exile, and depending on what kind of build or what character you're playing, you need to focus on those specific things. But for me, right now, I need to get evasion and I need to get suppressed spell damage before I start mapping, or else mapping the monsters in maps are absolutely going to annihilate me. So I need to work on my gear, and I also need to work on some gems to help me get evasion and help me get life and all that stuff, and resist obviously, so I can actually survive when I map. So the first thing you want to do when you get to the Kuroi Shores is that you want to go up and get this crafting recipe here for movement speed. So if you're struggling with movement speed on your boots, you can now just craft that yourself. Then you want to run over here into this building, and you actually want to go up here. I've already scouted this out, but this is where you want to go basically. You want to go up here, and the first thing that you want to do right now is that you want to talk to Kirac. He's going to give you a map, and you're going to start doing the quests for the end game. You take the map and you go down to the map device and you put that in, and you actually do your first map. Now, if you want more information about how the Path of Exile endgame works, I have another video for that in the description to learn how the Atlas and all that stuff work with like bonus objectives and doing maps. But that's basically what you want to do. And once you've done your first map, you can actually start mapping in your hideout. So this is my hideout where I have my own map device. I have Kirac actually here next to me as well. And then I have Lily and my stash and everything. So it's very easy and convenient for me to like control left click Lily to sell stuff really quickly. I can purchase gems from here, and I can also talk to Kirac, and you can also actually purchase items from Kirac as well, mainly maps. And this is really what you want to do when you start mapping as well. It is very important to buy maps from Kirac in order to finish up your Atlas and to keep progressing the end game. So as you can see here, he has a bunch of different maps that you can buy with different forms of currencies. And one thing that is really important as well that you can do in order to keep progressing your Atlas here with these maps is that you can actually buy multiple maps from Kirac first of all, but you can also reset the maps that he has with the Kirac mission in the map device. So Kirac missions is something that you get daily and something that you also get when you complete maps yourself. So right now, if I'm to open one of these maps, I could actually go in and do that, and I can get the map completion on that as well. But one thing that is really important is that this is also a way to reset the maps that Kirac actually sells. So if I go in here, I open one of these maps and then I talk to Kirac, he's now going to have new maps that I can purchase from him. So this is a great way to keep up maps if you're struggling with maintaining maps or sustaining maps, or you need different maps to complete in order to get more Atlas points in your Atlas skill tree, and you want to progress the end game overall. So we already talked about the fact that you need to get your resists up in order to actually start mapping. It is quite important that you get your resists up to a minimum of 75 on the left side here of your resists, because that is the maximum amount of resists your character can actually have, unless you increase your maximum amount of resists, which can be done in different places in the skill tree or on gear or some other ways. For example, Survivalist here gives +1 to maximum cold resistances, so if I would have that, I would be able to have 76 cold instead of 75. But like I said, you take a lot of elemental damage when you start mapping, so you want to get your resist up to 75 at least before you start mapping, or else you will die a lot more than you should. Another thing is also that the chaos resistance right now is -60%, and chaos res is a very interesting or different form of damage in Path of Exile that is not very common, and therefore it is not very common to get on gear or in the skill tree either. I usually play with -60 chaos resistances because I know how to play around this in Path of Exile. I know what enemies to look out for or what skills to look out for, and therefore I usually don't care about this. But if you want to get some chaos resistances, that is fine. Any that you get will actually help, and hitting this to upwards to around 0% chaos resistances is usually more than enough. You don't really need to hit 75 here. You can just hit 0, or like anything above -60 is going to help you. But just remember that you also don't really need to get any at all, and -60 will be fine as well. It's just that you're going to die sometimes here and there from like some certain chaos attacks and spells and stuff like that. But like I said, right now the main important thing for me to do before I start mapping is that I actually start getting some resists on my build. So right now I would, for example, swap out like all my leveling gear that I have, and I would put on like some new boots for me to use. Yeah, maybe these boots because they had like more resist and stuff like that. I would also get another helmet, like maybe this helmet, and then I would want a new belt. So I would want this belt, for example, and I need a pair of gloves, but I don't really have a pair of gloves here. I would also want a new armor. Like, I would just start swapping out all my gear and seeing like exactly what do I want and exactly what do I need. And as you can see here right now, my resistances has now gone up to cold being 88 and lightning being 80, which means that they are now at 75. Remember that you can have more than your maxes, but that more is not like actually going to help you unless you are doing maps where enemies curse you or remove your resistances in some way. Because there is a map modifier that gives you elemental weakness that lowers your amount of resistances. So having above 75 can also be quite helpful if you are doing maps where the enemies will curse you or the map itself has the curse. But as you can see right now, also my fire resist is only at 47, so I need to bring that up to minimum 75 before I want to start mapping. And then basically when I have fixed all my gear, maybe I buy a pair of gloves and I change out my rings and stuff like that, and I have all my gear in order and I feel ready to start mapping, I can just start mapping and I can start enjoying the game, and I can start, you know, smashing the end game content and everything that Path of Exile has to offer. And yeah, that's basically all the information you need in order to start properly mapping without having any issues at all. So thank you very much for watching the video. Remember to drop a like on this video and also subscribe here on YouTube. And if you want to, you can go follow me at Twitch over at twitch.tv/burgerbrush, where I stream quite a bit as well. Always try to help out anyone who needs any form of help, and just have a good time with the community, you know. So yeah, thank you very much and have a blessed day, my brothers.